Yeah, so good morning, everyone. I welcome you on the ninth day of the ongoing workshop. Our resource person, Dr. Arun Kumar, will proceed with his second lecture of the series today. This session will be chaired by Dr. Pooja Gupta, who is presently a co-host in this meeting. So you may post your queries to her. Okay, yes, sir, please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Suraj. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so dear participants, so we will basically, so I'll give you a little bit overview, like 2, 3 slides again on Python, basically very introduction to Python. Since I know that many people who are looking at the language first time, and there are obviously many, will be many experienced people also. So for them, this may be a little boring. So only just 2, 3 slides, like what are the important things in Python and how basically what are the different aspects at looking at Python. So let me just start from here. Just 2, 3 slides. I think this should have been covered in the first session itself, but yeah, maybe my another colleague may have covered it, but just I want to put again same thing in the perspective. Okay, so basically Python is what? Python is basically a open source language. So this is called FOSS license. So this is called free and open source software. So this means that it is freely available. You can download it freely and you can see the source code. Source code is the code which is written in the background that is working for you. You can see the source code. You cannot see source code of, let's say, MATLAB. Since MATLAB source code, they don't make it available. The company doesn't make it available. But you can see everything in the background, whatever written, the source code. And further, what you can do, if somebody, let's say they want to start a company, let's say even there is a company, there are many small companies which only do the plotting work. So they give a very nice framework of plotting and everything is built in Python. So yesterday we plotted some graphs. We plotted, let's say, only simple y is equal to x line. We plotted y is equal to x square. We plotted some surface. We plotted some sphere. We plotted some, let's say, what we plotted else, cylinder and all those things. So what we did in background, we did basically, we wrote so many lines, 10, 20 lines. So some company, what they are doing, they say that, okay, you want to print a cylinder. So what they will say that, okay, you just supply the cylinder dimension, supplied cylinder color and all those things, and you will get a cylinder. You will plot a cylinder automatically. You need not to go all the lines. And they have written those lines in Python language itself. And then you want to create some table where you want to fill the data and nice colors and all those things. So again, that company is doing for very simplistic commands, so that even a person with very less knowledge just supply some numbers and will get the table. So those companies totally build basically based on Python. Python is free, they use freely, but they build a product on that. So it is also allowed. You can use Python to build your own, let's say, company or something. Even in my company where I was working for 3 years in Bombay, our company totally was using Python, basically from starting from downloading the data to storing the data, retrieving the data, cleaning the data, and then using it for modeling. Modeling, basically we were doing some stochastic models and some, let's say, plotting kind of thing we were doing to see all the charts, all the outliers, or whether our analysis is working or not. All those things we were doing in Python. And then even trading also we were doing in basically based on Python. It will generate the portfolio and then we will supply this portfolio to a third company which will take the position in the market. And even the company, you can say that, uh, you can say that there were they were managing $500 million by using Python infrastructure itself. Like everything was in Python almost, except, okay, few things were there. Java was also there, little part, but mainly Python was there. Now the good part is that it comes with a easy and compact syntax. So what is the meaning of this? That whatever you can do in C++ maybe in 1 month, the same work can be implemented in Python maybe in 2 days. So that is the scalability of Python. So where then there is a trade-off between Python and C++. Python is basically a interpreted language and C++ is a compiled language. So compiled language are basically faster than the interpreted language in general. So now what happened? due to that, there is a small difference between the speed of the execution. C++ code get executed faster, Python codes get executed slower. But if your work is, but due to supercomputers and high computational power and parallel computing and so many things, your computation is still you can manage by having a high computation power. So this scalability help, like where people were putting to develop maybe hundreds of developers, only 5 developers or 10 developers can do the same work in Python. So that's why this is cost effective also sometimes. Okay, then it is a multi-paradigm language, which is like object oriented. Object oriented basically means you can have essentially classes, objects, and all the related concepts in Python. It is a dynamically typed language. Dynamically typed basically means that in C++ you have to declare the variable first. You say that, okay, this variable is int, this variable is float, this variable is boolean, and all those things. In Python, it automatically, when you define a variable, it automatically understands whether this is int or float or it is boolean or other variables. Further, you are allowed to change the variable type within the code itself. Like after 5 lines, you want to change the variable type. Like x was integer first in the first line, and then the 5th line, you want to make it a float. You want to change it. You can change without declaring anything. You can change it. So that is basically, it is a dynamically typed programming language. And good part is that a loads of resources, infrastructure, loads of queries, questions are available there. So there is a website, Stack Overflow on Python. So if you post any question there, you will get the answer very fast. So this means that there are so many people who are out there to help you. So you get the help very fast. So that is very good part. Since a programming language or another language also depend not on you, but also how much help is available around you. Since everything you cannot remember, even sometime to do something, you may not be expert, you need help. So what happens if you post that query somewhere on the platform and you get the answer? So that is also good part. That makes the language popular, and this shows the usability and people available around you. So in this way, Python is very good. So it is basically voluntarily run. People are basically without getting any payment, they are doing the work. And there are so many platforms available where your questions can be answered. So that is amazing actually for Python, not for any other language. Now what happened, just to recall again, maybe you already know these things. So there are many important libraries which are in Python, that is NumPy. So NumPy essentially work only numerical Python. This is basically essentially all the linear algebra work happens here. This is called numerical Python. There are some other things also, like fast Fourier transform, and all those things are also available here. Then comes Pandas. Pandas is essentially those who are interested in time series analysis, data frame analysis, or some probabilistic analysis. Like if somebody have used R language, so Pandas is essentially a substitute of R language in basically Python. Pandas and some other, like they have other also library in basically coordination with Pandas. So you can manipulate data very easily in Pandas. You have rows and columns of data, like you have, let's say, economic data, 20 countries GDP data, and from across, let's say, 20 years or 150 years. Then what you do, if you want to select one country, you want to plot them, you want to basically analyze something there, so Pandas is very helpful. Now come SciPy. SciPy basically contains all the module related to integration, interpolation, fast Fourier transform, ODE solver, image processing, and so on. Matplotlib is the main library for plotting, and there is another library that I have not mentioned, that is Seaborn. Seaborn is another library for plotting purpose. That is also very rich library, Seaborn. Then comes sklearn. So those who are interested in data science, machine learning, or AI kind of models, they basically use sklearn. And there is another library, Python library, that is TensorFlow. TensorFlow I have not mentioned, but TensorFlow is basically when you have image processing kind of thing. That is very good. Image processing, image analysis, TensorFlow. So all these are very like you can say free library, but they have very good infrastructure, very good functions, and these are good part is that these are freely available. Now once you know basic Python, let's say you know all the data types starting from integer, float, dictionary, string, your basically list, your tuples, your let's say other data type, numpy arrays, data frames, time series and all those things. So once you are available and these operations are available, then you are in position to use any library. Only the thing that you need some subject knowledge. Subject knowledge essentially, obviously subject knowledge is important to use the library. Let's say if you want to use differential equation, then you should know differential equation, how it works, what are the different solutions means and all those things. If you want to use data science library, obviously you need to know the data science concept, what are the different algorithms and all those things. So then subject knowledge come in picture. So then depending on your interest, you can basically become expert in one of these like I can say packages. Since I may not use differential equation much, but I may use sklearn more. So that is very much depending on what is your requirement. Now, if you go further, so many people are using Python. Let's say YouTube is using, Google is also using, NASA is using in their work Python, and even these are the codes from the people from these companies. Stack Overflow basically saying that some of the fastest growing technology in India include Python, Django and Pandas. Django. So Django is basically a Python library which helps you build in websites. So it has a very nice framework. So it is very helpful in building websites. So even Instagram is written in Python plus Django. This Django, D is silent here. So, and even Python plus Hadoop. Hadoop is another library that is used for big data. That is used for big data analysis. Next thing is that so people use. Now let's come to popularity. So these are the recent data, 2020 data. So recently C language is the most popular language is still. Then Java, then Python. So however, Python get popularity from around 1995 or 2000 onward. And in past 20 years, it has become the third most popular language based on this index. And still C and Java are there. See, lot of infrastructure is built in C and Java. That is also one reason. Now Python is getting its place a different so that's why its popularity is also increasing and Python is getting its place. Many infrastructure, when there is lots of infrastructure in C, then obviously people, they will keep using that infrastructure. But once more infrastructure like company websites, company codes and trading software that become in Python, then obviously more people will use those things. So that is also there. So this is like very popular language. And if you go, then this is another index which says that Python is the most popular. This is another index. So depending on what analysis they do, what kind of feature they take in picture in analyzing or getting this data. So generally in TRIOB index, they take like how many Google search people do related to Python or other language, how many jobs are available, how many online resources are available, how many online courses are running, and so on. So they take all these things in consideration to decide which language is the most popular one. Now that's all in Python. So running Python can be run in idle. Python can be run using the help of Spider. I'll suggest you that you install Anaconda. Anaconda is basically a framework where it has it has this kind of a structure. I'll show you. So Anaconda you install. So this is basically Anaconda Navigator. So here you can see Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook, Spider, GlueViz, Orange, R Studio. So those people who are interested in using R itself, they can use from here. Those who want to use Python basically through Spider, they can use this. Those who want to make notes out of whatever, yesterday I make some notes of my session. So those I use using Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook. So you use Anaconda. Whenever you get time, you install Anaconda. That is also freely available. It has paid version also, but yeah, free version is also there. And then the software management or the library management become easier, since when you want to install something, you can easily install through Anaconda. For example, there are many packages that are not available, that may not be available to you. Let's say you may not have graph kind of package in your Python, but if you install them, you can directly install, but from Anaconda environment, it become easier to install those things. If you are missing some package, you can install them easily by using Anaconda environment. So that's why I suggest you try sometime Anaconda also, and it give you, like, you are free to use many like editors here. Now let us come to our topic that we were supposed to discuss today. This was the initial. So yesterday somebody asked me, okay, how to make heat map, yeah, using basically Python. So that's why I try to just get that. So there is, you can make heat map in using this one, PyPlot also, PLT, as we discussed yesterday. So in this case, to get a heat map, you need to put the data in a data frame. So data frame is a collection of rows and columns. So you have rows and you have columns. That is your basically data frame. So data frame, basically you can see that you have a table kind of thing, but in Python they are called data frame. So like this one, this is a data frame. So this is called the column. X column is these values 1, 2, 3, 3, 8. Y column 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, and so on. So we can, if once your data is in this format, then you can make the heat map. So for example, I say that these are, I can remove these things also. These are, if you want to give the name of these one, then you can have the name. Otherwise I can remove, for time being, I can remove this for simplicity. And then I just create a data frame. I delete this part. So I create a data frame and this is my data frame. Now, instead of having A, B, C, D, E as my index and columns name, I have just simple 0, 1, 2, 3. These are the default name of rows and columns in data frame. If you don't supply anything, if you supply them, then obviously it will take those names. So my suggestion is that when you get time, so you basically work on pandas data frame. Since pandas data frame are very useful whenever you have data. Once you get data, you have this format. This become very like common to use data frame. This is a very common data structure in Python. Okay. So you can, I have created this one. So once this data frame is ready, and then just you have to go plt.p color map. This is, you have to go the color, and then you get the heat map. And obviously you can change the colors. It is taking default colors that are set there, but there are functionality you can change those colors. So for example, I can take the help and I can see that, okay, which color I can change and how to change them. So you obviously, again, there are so many things to get different kind of heat map, different kind of colors, annotating them, and then the square size and all those things. There are so many concepts related to this, like these boxes. You can change the size of boxes. Some boxes are smaller, some boxes are bigger. So all those things are there. So you can change those. Actually, these all boxes are same here. Only the color are mixing. The same color is here. That's why it is not looking like this. So there are so many concepts. And then there is another library that is called Seaborn. So this library is very, let's say, very rich library, which help you in plotting. You have different kind of plots, very exotic kind of plots here. So in this library, essentially what happens, again, you generate the data. So in this data, what I do, I generate some data and then I create a data frame again. And then I do the, I calculate correlation coefficient. So essentially I need this kind of data. I need a data frame again. So once you have data frame ready, and then you have to just supply sns.heatmap with this data, and then you get a heat map. Again, the colors are default colors. You can change those colors by looking at the heat map functions, and there are basically, if you search on Google, let me just tell you how to basically heat map in Seaborn. In Seaborn, if you go here, you will get this Seaborn library itself. So you go here, Seaborn.heatmap, then you see how to change the colors, different things. There are so many things available here. So these are different kind of heat map they have plotted, and even more are there, like this one. So you can look at this Seaborn library and then heat map function to get the heat map. So that's how you get the heat map. And so this is based on heat map. Now there was another question like how to do animation. So obviously animation you can do in Python. There are library available, but it will take actually at least 2-3 lectures to set the tone, to basically get all the functionality, how to make animation and all those things. But it is available. So even there is this library. So from matplotlib .pyplot. I think animation is there. Pyplot. Let me see. Import. Okay, it is animation. What is the name of that library? I was looking at this. So this library is there, animation. I was trying this. So even I worked a little bit on this, but it will take a lot of time to basically set the tone, like matplotlib animation. So you have to use this one. So this one. So there is a animation library itself in matplotlib. So you have to obviously go through the functionality of this. And obviously if you are expecting that from me, so I can only say that you have to explore the functionality. I have not used it for my purpose. So, but yeah, you can go and you can check how to use it. There are help available in Python documentation, also matplotlib documentation. So you can check it. And even help is available here, but that is little, if you see help of this animation, so you will get this help, like this is the help of that. So there are different functions: movie writer, file movie writer, HTML writer, and all those things. So you have to use those functions. Essentially animation, how it works is that it basically creates several images and then they put them in basically like a movie, so that you watch a movie kind of thing. So that's how it works. So you have to basically call several functions there. But yeah, if you explore this, you will obviously get it, animation. Okay, so you can even see what kind of functions are available. Here you just type here this and enter. So these are the source code of that. So these are the source code of this animation function. These functions are available here. Wrapper, writer, these are the source code. So basically what I am looking, this source code, this you cannot see for MATLAB, since MATLAB source code is hidden, but Python has an open source code so that you can see it. Now let us go to our today's topic, that is called SymPy applications. So I have written already the codes. So we are going to discuss this import SymPy library. SymPy. SymPy basically is a short form of symbolic Python. Symbolic. So this is called essentially, let's say, symbolic Python. Symbolic Python basically means you, whatever symbolic work you do, like you do the integration, you do differentiation, you want to get Fourier series, you want to get Laplace transform, all those things are available here. And obviously you may have many questions, like you may have very complicated functions and you want to do the, let's say, Fourier transform of it, so it may not give the answer. So all those things may be available, since that depend on how efficient your codes are in Python available. So but yes, but you can do many things here. Symbolic Python, so we call this import SymPy. So this import our library that is called SymPy. We also import NumPy, which generally is used many places, NumPy. So obviously, as you know that you cannot define a variable like this. Suppose I define a variable x. So it will give an error, since it will say what is x. So if I run this, so okay, it is running here since I am running it in SymPy, and already these are defined actually. So if I run it somewhere in another tab here where I have not called the SymPy, maybe it will not run actually. It should not run here. It is given error. So it is saying that name x is not defined. Since it doesn't take basically x directly, it doesn't take the variables ABC directly. So you have to declare them for the symbolic computation. So even if I say 10x, it will give an error. It will say, what is this? It doesn't understand. Name 10 is not defined, right? So to avoid this, so we have to declare the variables, that these are the symbols we are using. So in this case, we from SymPy, we import symbol, we import some important functions which we want to use. Let's say exponential function, tan function, square root, and this is basically differentiation. I can call integration, integrate, this one, integrate. I can call another function that I need, maybe log function. I may need, okay, I need log function. I may call log. I may call cos. So I may use all these functions. I need to call these functions first. From SymPy, I call these functions, and then I declare that x is a symbol, y is a symbol. Since once I said that x is a symbol, y is a symbol, it automatically understands. If I write somewhere x, it will not give an error. It will say that, okay, this is a symbol, no issue. This is just, it is running it. It is running it. It understands that this is a symbol. Okay. So once you have called your library SymPy and you have called all the important, basically, let's say symbol, your important functions that you want to use, so that everything is available in Python environment. Python environment basically means you are wherever you are running your current environment. Obviously this means if you will close the Python idle, let's say I close this Jupyter Lab, I close the Anaconda, it will forget everything again you have to call them. So this is even a memory management, since what happens that obviously Python will keep everything in memory, so obviously there will be a memory problem in computer. So that's why whenever you close your codes, it forget everything, it start from another. So that is a memory management concept. So, and obviously if it, so for using less memory, we call everything in the code when we run the code. If you call unnecessary functions which you are not using, then obviously you are wasting some memory of the computer or the, so that's why your code may be run slower. And if you are writing very small code like 5-10 line code, it doesn't matter, you can call many things. But when your codes is of thousands of line, 10,000 of line, 20,000 of line, and maybe some 1 lakh lines, then what happens? Everything matter. Then calling unnecessary functions become problematic. Since in that case, Python is wasting some memory, your computer is wasting some memory due to unnecessary functions. And then you are running a code of, let's say, 1 lakh lines or 10 lakh lines. And in companies, big companies where hundreds of people writing thousands of lines every day or 200 lines every day, code becomes several lakh lines, which runs daily on server. So that become important that you have this memory management in mind. Initially, you may think that, okay, this is unnecessary, but when your code is larger and you are running big data frames, several matrix there, inversion formula and all those things, so everything take time. Even in my company, the code used to for trading, let's say in evening, they will run the code first, let's say 24 hours before or 20 hours before, and then it will keep running for 20 hours and then the output will come. Okay, so that's become important, that you basically don't waste the memory by calling unnecessary functions when you are writing a professional code. Okay, so for example, I can write, if I want to call everything, let's say I want to call everything, there is a way of doing this. I can say that from
Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. I think sir got disconnected. So
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am. I will call him.
Okay.
Yes, sir is back with us. Sir, your microphone is muted, sir. Uh, 1 minute, sir. Give me a minute. Yes, sir. Try to unmute your. Yes, sir.
it is done now. Okay, okay, thank you.
Yes.
So I think there was some network issue. I don't know whether from my side or from some. Okay, okay, thank you. Now, Dr. Suraj, your microphone is mute.
Okay, okay. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen now, or should I need to see it, share it again? I don't know. Okay, I need to share it again. Okay. So I think you can see my screen now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see.
Okay, thank you. So now what happened again? So let's say basically, so these are very, let's say, elementary operations or very rudimentary work, whereas maybe like many people who are basically who are using MATLAB from long time or who have some computational background, so they may feel a little bit boring. But for those people who are basically using it first time and they want to basically explore what kind of things are available in Python, so this is equally important. So I'm just covering these aspects where let's say those who are in graduation or master level, they may be using some programming for their purpose. And even for instructor, this is helpful sometime. I'll explain that how it could be helpful for instructors. So now let's say differentiation. So we have already called this diff function from here. So I call differentiation and then I pass my function and I pass the variable with respect to which you want to do it. So 10x, right? So this become, so I can try maybe y star 10x. So this become my y star 10x. Y is also a variable that I have used here. So I can use y, but it will differentiate only with respect to x, and so on. Okay, so that this become the differentiation of this function. So similarly, you can do the symbolic computation. So however, like very complicated function, I don't know whether it will be able to basically do for a very complicated function. Differentiation or differentiation may do, but integration sometimes problem occurs. So now those people who are using Mathematica, so you can see that this work what we are doing is a let's say equivalent to Mathematica. Many people use Mathematica for example calculating some complicated differentiation, complicated integration and all those things. So you can do similar work here, but sometimes yes, my experience also says that Mathematica is better than this SymPy. This is my experience. Since sometime this symbolic computation SymPy library may not be able to calculate those integrations analytically, but Mathematica calculates. The reason is that Mathematica is a paid software and there are hundreds of thousands of people working to write those codes and getting different different methods to do computation and all those things. But in Python, those many people may not are not available. But the good part is that however Python is in developing stage. In coming years, this library will be more richer and will be handled to more functions, and all those things are also there. Okay, and this is also free. Mathematica is not free, so sometimes this is helpful. Yeah. Then similarly, if you want to do higher order derivatives, so what we have to do, differentiate 3, this is 3x to the power 4. So if you remember in Python, we use double star for square. Let's say, let me put here, insert cell above. So to write square, we write this one. So this means 2 square, that is 4. So we write double star in Python. This basically means square to the power basically, to the power 3. So then I want to write 3x to the power 4. So this become my line. So this means the function is 3x, this one, 3x to the power 4. And then we want to have 3 derivatives with respect to x. So in this case, and here you can write another way, you differentiate once with x, then again, and then again 3 times. Both things give you same answer. So this way you get the higher order derivatives. If you have a mix of functions where more variables are there, let's say this function is 3. So I am writing this function. So this function is 3x to the power 4 and y to the power 6. This function is this. So in this way you write, with respect to x you want to have second derivative, and you have third derivative with respect to y, and then you will get this answer. So in this way you basically do the differentiation. So these are very, let's say, elementary commands, but yeah, for obviously when you are starting something, you start with the simple, and then obviously you keep exploring things. You see the help of the SymPy, and you get different, let's say, libraries there, and then different things you can do. Then similarly come integration. So integration, there are again, we from SymPy we import integrate, these functions for integration, and we import this one. So this is double O, you can say double O. This is the notation for infinity. So if you want to use infinity, so it is used for double O, since you cannot write infinity here. And even I think there could be infinity also. I'm not sure whether, I need to check. So there is no infinity, INF. Okay, So there is no infinity here. You have to use double O. I need to see whether infinity is there also. But yeah, this is also used for infinity. And in this case, we basically integrate x square with respect to x. These are very simple functions. Same logic apply for more complicated functions. Obviously, for simple functions, it is easy to grasp, easy to check the answer. So that's why I've taken the simple functions. But yeah, more complicated functions also, same command, same way work. Just it may be more lengthy to write, but yeah, logic remains same. So integrate x square with respect to x, so you get x3 by 3. And let's say you want to integrate e to the power minus x square minus y square, and x varying from minus infinity to plus infinity, y varying from, so this is a, you have the definite integration. So you write, so in this way your answer become pi. So e to the power minus x square minus y square, x with respect to minus infinity to infinity, y minus infinity to infinity. So you get this answer. Similarly, integrate x square with x with respect to 0 and 2. These are the limit of the integration, 0 and 2. And here minus infinity to infinity with respect to x, and minus infinity to infinity with respect to y. This is a function of two variables. Integrand is a function of two variables, and so on. Okay, so yeah, same thing here. This is also same thing. So that's where you get the integration. Then you can get the limits. So again, we call from SymPy import limit. So deliberately I am calling every time, since you understand that we are just sine we have already called. So I need not to call sine. Already we have called it above. So that is fine. So still it will work. So round function give you, if I remove the round function, so it will give you the answer with this much big. So if you want it to be for limited to be for two decimal points, so you can put the round function. So this means we are saying that you find the limit of this function sin x by x when x is going to pi by 2. I can remove this numpy pi. I can just call import limit and pi here. Still it will work. Then it is coming 2 by pi. The reason is that np dot pi given decimal, and this function pi you called it just write the pi since it understand what is pi, and then it give other way to give the numerical value. So 2 by pi, and then you can obviously replace this whatever you want to replace here, pi or whatever. So obviously you can get this is 0, you can replace here 0, this is 1, and you can do so many things. Sin x by x. So sometimes when obviously you are doing the calculus course, teaching calculus course, and then you basically have some 0 by 0 form and you want to use L'Hopital rule, and then you have to do computation by hand. And if you want just the answer, you can write in Python, and then you can basically get the answer quickly without doing so much computation by yourself. So sometimes it's helpful. So in teaching part, I also use this symbolic computation whenever I have to, let's say, give some question in quiz or some question in exam where I want the answer, not maybe the complete methodology, how all the steps, like maybe objective type question, I need just the answer. So I use it here. I don't do the computation myself. I just do it myself. Okay. Okay. So now let us go to series expansion. So there is a series expansion concept. So in this case, series expansion, what you do, you can basically have your expression. You can write it anything. I just written expression. You can write here x, y, z, whatever you want to write. X, Y, Z. And then you basically say that you want the Taylor series. So this is a Taylor series with respect to a point. So Taylor series, if you understand, so you can have around 0, which is called Maclaurin series. And if some general point, this is called in general Taylor series. So you can have around 1 also. So you want to have the Taylor series around the point 1. And then you want to have basically 20. 20 basically means you want to get this order. This will be the last 20th order term before that. So this is the order. I can fix it maybe 10, then I'll get this series. So this way. So this is my, let's say, Taylor series around 0.1, and it go till this order, x minus 1 to the power 10. So this is the term before that, and then x minus 1 to the power 10 order of this. You can have this, you can change the point around which you want to have the series and the order that you want in the series. Order basically means here that after that you have x to the power 10 order terms or more than that. Okay. You can have more complicated functions. I can write quote x. So sometime if you are, let's say you are putting some quiz, you can just directly see the answer from here. You want to see the Taylor series expansion. So 10x plus quote x. Quote is not defined. So if quote is not defined, what I have to do? Import from SymPy, import quote. So in this way I have to do this. Okay. So this is the series now. This big one. This is the code 10 plus code, whatever you do. So in this way you can have the series expansions. Then we come to, let's say, again, I can have more complicated, like I can have log 1 plus x plus log 1 minus x plus 10x. And then I can have the corresponding Maclaurin series, which is around 0. And then I want term, all the terms before order x to the power 10 in this way. So x to the power 9 and whatever. So in this way I get this series. This series. Okay, so that's how it works. Then we come to the integral transforms. Okay, so again in series, obviously you have to basically just, you have to go to the series and then you have to pass the point around which you want the series expansion, since you have to give this point, and then you have to get this term. These two things you have to supply. I can have 1 to whatever I want, so it may be a little lengthy, but yeah, this is the series around 1 and so on. Now let us come to integral transforms. So it has almost whatever you have, the main integral transforms like Laplace transform, Fourier transform, Mellin transform, Z transform, and let's say Hankel transform. So all these things are available. And if you want to just see what kind of transform are available, so you can see this by using the help. So I type here help, and then I see, okay, what kind of transforms I have available here. So I go with this, I copy this, Control G. So I see this. Okay, I see. I just need to like this. I need to do this from SymPy. From SymPy dot integrals import transforms. Okay, let me see if it is work. So I got these transforms. So this is the help here. I need to get, so you should know how to basically get the help or how to use the help. So for that you have to obviously call, first you have to import for what you want to help, since that is, then only it is available in your environment, and then you have to call the functions help, and then you can see here that it has in integral transform, it has Fourier time transform. So in Fourier time transform it has both Fourier transform, inverse Fourier transform. It has Hankel transform, both Hankel and inverse Hankel transform. It has inverse Laplace transform, it has inverse Mellin transform, it has Laplace transform, it has Mellin transform. Then it has sine, cosine type transform, inverse cosine, inverse sine, and sine transform. So only these transforms are available in this. So maybe some other library you have to get the Z transform, you have to get the other remaining transform. Z transform is not here right now. I cannot see it. So then you have, these are available. This is the help you can see. Now how to basically do the transform? Obviously you have to call the functions, and then you go back. Okay, so what happened is, oh my God. Okay, now what happened, then we come to the integral transform. So we from integral transform we call our Mellin transform, we call our Laplace transform, and we call our Fourier transform. And then from SymPy dot ABC, so from this we code the symbols. Either we go in this way, SymPy dot ABC import XSK, whatever you want to use. XS also you can use, K is not required. So XS. So basically means these X and S it will understand as symbols. This is another way of calling the symbols, or you can declare them as symbols. Then we get the Mellin transform. So Mellin transform is basically how it is defined. Mellin transform is defined by integration of s to the power x to the power s minus 1 fx dx. That is your Mellin transform. Okay, so in this way you get your Mellin transform. So e to the power minus x you are doing with respect to variable x, and you are taking, this is the transform variable. You are going you can say that you are going from x space to the s space. So this is your s variable. So your answer will be in terms of s. As you know that in Laplace you have, let's say t to s, generally we have functions ft, and the Laplace transform will be in terms of capital Fs. And then it gives the domain where it is converge and all those things. And this is a valued supply. I think this is that maybe, I don't know, you need to check this, what this value represent here. Okay, so then similarly you can get the Laplace transform. You have to just supply the function, this is the function to the power minus x square, and then you have to supply the variable x, since you want in term of x square. I can call another constant also, let a is a constant. I can call this constant, and then I can use this here, a and x square. This is x square, so it will be like this. So this is like a constant, a is a constant, so e to the power minus ax square, and then with respect to x, and you have your variable will be s, transform variable will be s. Okay, And then it's saying that there is a condition that this variable should be less than pi by 2. I don't know. So this is condition it is giving, that for convergence of this variable should be less than pi by 2. Some condition is coming. And then similarly you can have Fourier transform. So you can have special functions. So there are special functions like let's say Dirac delta functions, you have Heaviside function, you have maybe some Bessel function, you may have different kind of functions here. So essentially you can call first these functions like Dirac delta function, and then you can get the Fourier transform of Dirac delta function. X Dirac delta x1. So this means this function is concentrated at 1. So we call delta 1x. This is basically, this function is essentially here Fourier transform of Dirac delta function, and this is denoted by delta 1x, del delta underscore 1x. So this is your Dirac delta function, and this means the Dirac delta function is concentrated at 1. You can change it, you can have it 0. So obviously this means your answer will be 1. Then your Fourier transform become 1. So depending on whether it is focused around 0, whether it is focused around 1. So again, these are elementary functions, but like important to understand. Now what happened, let's say this function, let me take 1. So in this case this is giving 2 pi is. So one more thing here to remember, that the Fourier transform has like definitions where a small variation is there. So sometime you basically multiply by 2 pi I, you get, let's say, integration minus infinity to infinity fx e to the power minus isx dx. Sometimes you basically use 2 pi I in the multiplication. So it depends on the application, depend on what definition they have taken. So essentially there is a basically in Fourier and inverse Fourier, you choose in such a way that the coefficient in both, let's say C1 you have used in the Fourier and C2 you have used in the inverse Fourier, then C1 into C2 should become 1. 1 I think. It should become 2 pi I or something. Yeah. So you have to choose in this way. So a small variation in definition happen. Okay. A small variation happen in the definition. So some people multiply by 2 pi I, some people don't multiply by 2 pi I in the Fourier transform. Then you can have Fourier transform of, let's say, more, this is very well known function, bell shape function, e to the power minus x square x with respect to s. So this become this one. Okay. Now for those who are in like graduation student, so this is like when they are solving some example in maybe practicing something from their maybe assignments or some exercise they are doing. So if they're doing something by hand, they can also check answer from here by using let's say SymPy, maybe some complicated function, and they can check whether they get the same answer or not. And for sometime instructor also, if they want to, let's say, modify something, they want to ask the question in the exam, then I think what can be done is we can make some changes and the question can be asked in exam. So sometimes I also do that. Like if I want to modify whatever is given in the book or some example, I can want to make small changes to ask in the exam. I just do those changes and ask in the exam by doing the computation from here. So this is like, yeah, but this is not calculated it. 2fx1s. So this is giving some, Yeah, so you can modify essentially some genuine modification where it exists. So, and then you can get the answer, and then that you can use. Now you can also get the Fourier series. So Fourier series essentially comes in many courses. If you do any courses of mathematical method, any course related to even in differential equation also where series solutions are there, Fourier series become important. So in that case, Fourier series is basically essential part, and in for engineering application also. So sometimes you can basically calculate by using Fourier series like this. So you get Fourier series, you call Fourier series from SymPy. Pi we have already called, so maybe we need to call it again. So then you go Fourier series of this function x square in the interval minus pi to pi. Since in Fourier series this is also important, you have to give the interval. So this means the function is, you are taking the function in this interval, and outside that is basically periodic. Okay, and then since this is an infinite series, Fourier series is an infinite series, so you can get the first 10 terms. So you can get truncated 10. So these 6 terms here and 4 terms here. So these are the 10 terms of the Fourier series. You can increase those, since this is, you can do those things. So these are the first 20 terms. These are the 20 terms if you want all those things. Okay. And maybe you can calculate the value of this. I need to see whether it work. S x82. Okay, -4. So there should be some function which calculate the Fourier series value at 0.2, and so that you can do the direct plotting of this. You can do the plotting. I need to see that how S dot subs. I need to see that. Okay, I need to see that how to basically calculate the value of this series at different points, and then you can plot it by using that. Truncate 10 dot subs x2. Okay, I think okay, it is giving in this way, but it is not giving the numerical value. I need the numerical value. So what happens, this is substitute command. Substitute basically means you are substituting the x with the value 2, and then once you get the numerical value, so you can get different x and you can calculate numerical values, and then you can plot it. You can see that how it look like, it look like the series. Plotting directly can be done here. Okay, so even this become like good when you want to see that how your Fourier series is converging to the original function in which interval, or like if we take -pi to pi, obviously we are up outside that, again function will be basically, the series will be periodic, it will repeat the period. Okay, and then similarly here you can have this function. This is a Fourier series in this way. Then we come to that you can also solve differential equations, at least may not be, all differential equation may not have analytical solution like ordinary differential equation we are using, but yeah, you can get the solutions from here. So for example, in this case we are saying y is a function, so we have to declare it. This is the way in symbolic computation, this is different little bit. So you have to declare that y is a function of, and then x is basically a symbol. So there are two different things, y is a function and x is a symbol. And then y1 we are calling, this is the derivative of yx with respect to x. This is the, you can say, first derivative. So this is basically dy by dx. this is dy by dx, and then y2 is the derivative of yx with respect to x, but the second derivative. So this is the d square y by dx square. So y1 is dy by dx, y2 is equal to basically d square y by dx square. In this way we define, and once it is defined, then we show that okay, d solve is the differential equation solver, where we say that this is d square y by dx square plus 2 dy by dx plus 5 dy by dx, 5 basically y minus 2, and solve with in terms of yx, this differential equation. And then you get the solution here. Yx is equal to c1 sin 2x plus c2 cos 2x e to the power minus x plus 2 by 5. So in this way, like you can create many questions where just you need, since every time you don't want to solve, even if you know the method, you don't want to solve it. You just, if you need just the answer, so you can get the answer in this way. So you can create many questions for your exam, for maybe test, for exercise, and you can give questions and the corresponding answer very quickly. You can make small changes here, and that is like okay, I can have third derivative. I can say that okay, y3 I want control C, I can put here control V y3, and then derivative yx x, then 3 I can take, and then I can put it here y3 plus, and then again this become very complicated, but yes, this become very complicated. This is the solution of this equation, slightly complicated, since obviously it will calculate the roots, and those roots may be in complicated forms, and that's how you get it. Maybe I do it minus y again, so this is again complicated. So yeah, it could be complicated. So that's how you get the differential equation. You solve the differential equation by defining first the function, then the symbol, then the derivatives, different derivatives, and so on. You know that there are many important orthogonal polynomials in your, which are helpful in Fourier series. When you write, let's say, generalized Fourier series are basically a function you want to write in terms of orthogonal polynomial. So one is, you know, Fourier series, that is known by the name of Fourier series, that is in fact is called trigonometric Fourier series, where you write a function fx in terms of 1 cos x sin x cos 2x sin 2x and so on. So this is called trigonometric Fourier series. Then another series that is called Fourier, let's say, Legendre series. So in that case you write the function f in terms of the Legendre polynomial. Then you have Fourier series, which is basically in terms of Hermite polynomials, that is called Fourier Hermite series. And then you can have Fourier Bessel series and so on, so many, since you have orthogonal polynomials. So there is a huge class of, or there are the known one are Legendre, Hermite, and Bessel and so on. So these polynomials are also available, where you want to basically calculate those polynomial values, you want to evaluate them at different points, and you want to even get the questions. So generally what I do, okay, I take the example. So sometime you know that Legendre polynomial have let's say generating function. Legendre polynomials can be put in a differential equation form, and so sometimes you want to even know the, let's say, 5th degree Legendre polynomial. So then you have to use that generating function to get the basically coefficient of, let's say, t to the power 5 to get the 5th degree Legendre polynomial. So in that case it take time. Sometimes you want 6 degree, 7 degree. So here in Python you can just quickly say that okay, Legendre 10x, and then you can get the form of the Legendre 10 degree polynomial, and even the operations on those polynomials, if you want to use them, let's say you want to calculate the norm and all those things, you can use by using the Legendre polynomial. And then similarly you have Hermite polynomials and all those things, you can get their like polynomials values, and then you can do many operations on them. So obviously what I am doing, I am only touching a very big area, which is symbolic computation in Python, and I am just taking some application in differential equation, integration, and let's say different kind of polynomials, and let's say there is a numerical integration whole thing.
Hello. Hello.
So you have
Hello.
numerical hello,
Hello.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Actually, the session is still 11:30 only, and we have to clear doubts also.
Okay, it is 11:16. Okay, I think it was okay. It's fine. So I'm just done, almost done. So 11:20, I think Dr. Suresh told me yesterday that after we have doubt in last 10 minutes. I don't know.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. You can continue then. Okay, sir.
Whatever suits you, sir. If you want to take more time, ma'am, how many doubts are there with you?
Sir, actually, I have only two doubts. No more doubt
Okay,
is there.
then ma'am, it can be finished within last 5 minutes only, because two
Okay.
doubts will not take more than 5 minutes. Sir, please, please
Okay.
continue.
Only 4-5 minutes. Yes, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
So then you have again numerical integration. So again, you can basically there are integrate this quad function, quad function, different kind of functions are there. So you can get the basically integration of this is a basically Bessel function, special functions. This is called Bessel function of order V, and then this is the order and this is the function value. You integrate it with 0 to 4.5, and then you get the integration value and the corresponding. This is basically the estimate of the absolute error and so on. So that's how you basically integrate. And then if you go with SymPy in general to see like what kind of functions are there and what kind of symbolic computation you can do. So you can see that even we are basically, you can have symbolic computation. ABC basically is used for symbols. When you want to call X, Y, Z, alpha, beta, gamma, and all those things, you call from this library. And then symbolic computation in algebra, and then assumptions benchmark are basically different packages. Then you have in calculus, then you have combinatorics, you have, this is I think again some package which may be checking consistency and all those things. You have cryptography, and you have differential geometry, you have discrete math, you have basically geometry, holonomic, integrals, so matrices. So you can have symbolic computation not in just one area. You can have symbolic computation in different areas. Series, you have sets, you have solvers, you have statistics, you have tensor, and so on, vectors, and so on. So that's why there are so many, let's say, functions there. So obviously it depends basically what you want to use, and you have to obviously explore this SymPy through this help, or you have to explore it through, let's say, online, going to SymPy website. And yeah, so there are these many things. So Python in general is very broad itself. It is not like, let's say, very, there are, it basically replace many specific things. You can build website in this, you can do machine learning, you can do data science, you can do big data, you can do statistics part, you can do all the symbolic computation, matrix theory, data manipulation, and economics people are using, biomedical people are using. So like very big libraries, even cryptography, and all those things. Okay, thank you, madam. So I think I am done. So if there are questions, please let me know if I'll be able to answer. Otherwise, I'll try to answer in the maybe next session.
Yes, sir. Actually, for one doubt is if as we find the integration or derivative in Python, so is the method defined in Python or some particular some integrations of already defined there?
Okay, so if we see, we can, if there is any doubt anywhere, so what we do generally, so we go with the help. So what I do, let's say we go back and I say, okay, tell me basically how we can pass everything, what kind of help is available in integration. in Python. So help, so if you see this one, let's say, so we can see the help, and just sorry, it's little bit lengthy. So this is saying that help on the function integrate in module simpy.integrals.integrals. So it's compute the definite or indefinite integrals of one or more variables.
Yes, sir.
And then it is saying that it's using the Rick-Norman algorithm and table lookup. So basically what happens in background, so this is what they are saying, the one algorithm, Rick-Norman algorithm, and table lookup. So table lookup is basically they may have put let's say different tables in the background, and then it is just taking the values from those tables. It may not calculate everything. Since it happened in Mathematica also. So for example, it may, let's say I want to calculate some very complicated integral. So
Yes, sir.
this integral may be available on mathematical handbook somewhere in book. So they have replicated those things in the programming language. So rather than, since those integral may be calculated maybe some other way, let's say many integral in let's say 0 to infinity sine x by x. This is very popular integral, dx. 0 to infinity sine x by x. This is called Dirichlet integral, I think. And that dx is equal to pi by 2. So this integral is not calculated by using the normal method. This is generally calculated by either using some Fourier integrals and all those things, since that become very easy, Fourier theory. So some integral are calculated by different theory, but when you put in them table, then they can use it here directly. And there are, in many integral, they have a general form by using more general form, and then all the integral become a particular cases of those integral. So that is another approach of doing these integrals.
Sir, you mean to say that some particular algorithm is defined, and based on that, Python gives the result of integration,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
Sir, suppose I want to define some another algorithm. So can I do that, or for that I need to know how to do coding in Python?
What they can do, basically what they can do, let's say they have, you want to calculate 0 to pi by 2 x sine x dx. Now what happens, they may have a very general form. They may have 0 to pi by 2 a polynomial into a trigonometric function, a trigonometric function, a combination of trigonometric function. Then they may have a general form where you substitute a, b, c, d and all those things. And when your particular integral is calculated, it automatically look at a, b, c, d, and then it give you by substitution in from that general form. So that may happen there.
Sir, actually
So
this
these,
is
please.
Sir, actually, this is basically Labig integration. So suppose I want to do some other integration. So I just want to ask, can I define my algorithm there if I know the algorithm?
You are okay. So okay. So basically, what happens here? What I am saying is that Python basically may not calculate everything by in that fundamental way. Like you go Labig integral, then
Yes,
you
sir.
basically writing everything in terms of a series, and then you are taking the limit, and then you getting the limit, and then you are calling that integral. So this
Yes,
is like a standard mathematical way. But what may happen in Python, they basically have general forms which are calculated by people in different way, and they are putting those general form, and they are just retrieving those forms.
Okay.
So if you go with fundamental definition, it will not calculate by fundamental definitions, since even let's say this, when they have to add infinite things, so it may fail in adding infinite things in basically computer term. Since the integral, let's say Riemann integral or Lebesgue integral,
sir.
Riemann
Yes,
integral
sir.
is defined as a limit of a series.
Yes, sir.
This sums up
Yes,
whatever you call upper or
yes,
lower
sir.
Riemann sums.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But it may not calculate in that way. It will
Yes, sir.
calculate it based on some general formula which is already inbuilt there, and it may look at the tables. Like it may have a handbook in background. So I need to just read more in this. So, but they are saying table lookups. Table lookup basically essentially means they have a handbook and they basically map your whatever you have supplied the value and get it from the table.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, sir. Can I change their table in Python?
Table, I think you can, actually they have a source code. So you have to go to the source code and then
Okay,
you
sir.
can change there. So you have to see, you can basically source code, they have supplied those values. If we see the
Okay.
source code, so again, I have to get the source code. So source code you see in this way, integrate, and then again, it may call some other library. That is the only thing. So this is the source code. So integrate the argument, keyword arguments, and then basically you get the symbol, and then several variables can be specified, in which case the result and all those things. Simple also implement the part of the RIC algorithm, which is a decision procedure for integrating elementary functions. The algorithm can either find elementary antiderivative or prove that one does not exist. It is also a very successful, albeit somewhat slow, general heuristic RIC algorithm. And then this may be for elementary functions. Elementary functions are different, but for like general, and the strategy comes from rewriting. So they have written many things here. G functions method, different technical first. Okay, so obviously to answer all your questions, I have to read this whole documentation.
It's okay, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, another doubt is, can we find, hello?
Yeah, please.
Sir, can we draw the graph of operator also in Python?
There are library, but I never use those operators. But yeah, there are libraries here. So essentially, whatever you can think in different areas, that is available in Python. Let's say there is a GeoGebra kind of, used to be a software GeoGebra kind of thing. So all those operations you can do here, GeoGebra. There are graphs, like graph theory graphs, you can draw in here. You can basically, if operator, actually I don't know which sense you are saying, but you can essentially whatever you can think, they are available here.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. These are the only doubts today.
Okay. So one more thing that basically I want to say that essentially we have explored very elementary functions right now. So one aim of the workshop is to basically make you familiarize with different libraries and how they work and what kind of functionality are available. But once you become comfortable, then obviously you have, let's say, whole ocean open to you. This is like maybe thousands of people or maybe 10,000 of people are working in this area. Different, they are using they are not writing everything. They are using some available library. Those who may be written 50 years ago in Fortran or something. There are some Fortran library also they are using, those written very long back. So it is not a work of, like it take time to understand everything and to become comfortable and all those things. But yeah, once you know that how to get the help, what package is important for your work, and basically how to get help online, how to get help through Python commands itself, how to see Python websites. So then you will I think pretty much you will able to explore yourself many things.
So, can you please suggest some book for the basics of Python?
Okay, so the best thing is that you can go with the Python website itself. They have very nice, let's say, you go with python.org. This is the very basic thing you can do. Python.org, you go here, Python website, and you see here, if you can see my this website, you see Python documentation. So you go beginner's guide, you go here, or Python docs, and then Python tutorials are also should be there somewhere. So beginners guide, known programmers, beginner guide, different kind of, they have given simple examples. What is this? Beginners guide, known programmer. So they have, like in this website, you will find everything there. Python tips and Python for bioinformatics, Python for number theory. They are giving Python programming tutorial for beginners. Let's say from here onward. They have online also. So good part is that you go to python.org, that is the best resource. They have so many things there. Python.org, and then you start Python tutorials there. Book also, they have anyway, book will be anyway you have to buy and it will be costly and unnecessary. You go to python.org, they have everything available there. So Python is all the help available.
Thank you,
And
sir.
this article with 101 free Python books, they have all the information here. So let's say they have put this article somewhere. This is also in Python. So all the resources are available. Python for known programmers. You see this, they have given different links, different notes, and everything is available here.
Okay, Arun sir, yeah, we got your, I think we got all the queries, sir. So Arun sir, there is a request. Can you please write the name of those books so that I can share with the participants? If you can mail me a list of
Okay,
books.
sure.
Because
I'll do that.
yeah, in the internet we can find many books, but from your personal experience, those books will be better for the candidates. So if you can share the list of books, I will share it with the candidates. Some basic books on Python.
So they want only for Python, or they want for like a specific area in Python? Let's say in Python for, let's say, data science, Python for linear algebra.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, I think the most of the participants are just the beginners. In case they want any specific one in some specific topic, then they will contact you. But for the general audience, we can share the general books, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I'll do that then.
Yes, sir. Sure. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Actually, again, there is a lecture from your side, so you need to take rest also, or your student will take the lecture. Yeah.
TA will take today. Huh?
Yeah. Sure, sir. So we will see your TA at 12 a.m., sir. 12 p.m., sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay.
Yeah, bye.
Okay, participants, we will gather here at 11:55.